I'm Gill Frost, and for the last 35 years I've been a counsellor and a psychotherapist. And much more recently, I've become an author of The Girls Within, which is a true story about a client of mine. The book is about one woman's struggle to overcome childhood trauma and abuse in the most extraordinary way, and her fight, her determination, and her belief that things could be different enabled her to go through the most extraordinary journey of healing. Vivienne, she's an immensely interesting, amazingly strong, powerful woman, but very, very traumatized. She's a middle-aged woman. She came to me, first of all, with her husband with a marital problem, and then bit by bit it became obvious that she had a bit more than a marital problem. DID, in its full name, is dissociative identity disorder, but it's quite a mouthful, so we call it DID for short, and it used to be called multiple personality disorder. And DID is very much on a spectrum, and Vivienne is right on the extreme end in terms of her symptoms, in terms of the way that she presents with her DID. Basically, DID is a defense mechanism, a very natural defense mechanism that enables little ones, when they're in the throes of being overwhelmed with trauma and abuse, to survive, so that the events and all the feelings and emotions associated with this overwhelming trauma that you're experiencing become out of consciousness. It's like the child goes into hiding, as it were, and remains there until later on. It soon became obvious, about maybe 6 years into our working together, that there were these very young parts of her, traumatized parts, that were becoming obvious in order to be seen, to be heard, and hopefully to be healed, if possible. And little Vivi, who is 6 and always will be, she's the most engaging, the most entertaining, just the most lovable little soul you can ever wish to meet. And then there's Izzy. And Izzy appeared about 2 or 3 years later. And Izzy, she tells me, is 8. And Izzy's very, very different. She's serious, she's reflective, and she's wise, but finds it very, very difficult to trust anybody. And in the beginning, she couldn't trust me. The reader gets to really know somebody with DID, not just the adult, but also these 2 wonderfully energetic, interesting, vibrant little ones. And to really understand the dreadfully damaging outcome of childhood abuse and trauma on adult mental health. DID is the most natural thing in the world to develop in order for the child to survive. And yet, there is very, very little known about it, and there's no training, there's no mainstream or core training for therapists or medics. So very, very few people who develop DID are actually able to find therapists or medics who can either diagnose accurately or offer appropriate treatment. So once again, these little ones who were unseen and unheard when they were very young remain unseen and unheard in adulthood. DID needs to be known about. We need to hear about it, and we need to know that treatment is essential, and that treatment, good treatment, the appropriate treatment, can actually make the world of difference to people's lives. Because the only way that these little ones can really recover is to be actually treated within a safe, caring relationship and a very safe environment. I've written it for survivors of trauma and abuse. I've written it for therapists. I've written it for doctors, medics, GPs, psychiatrists. I've written it for anybody who's interested in mental health issues, and in fact anybody who really, really enjoys a true story where good triumphs over evil. I think the thing is, because it's been written in a very accessible language and a very accessible style, It really could be a book for all people. Vivian's real outside family, as we call it, that's her husband and her 4 children, and they all signed consent forms. And then obviously it's rather more difficult for the internal parts to sign consent forms, but they gave their verbal consent. In fact, they've written, well, certainly little Vivi wrote a little piece, which is in the book, and it's very much her version of a consent form. If you understand who little Vivi is, she is a real prima donna. And when she realised that I was thinking of writing a book, she was just so excited. You're writing a book about me? Yippee! She was absolutely thrilled. And Izzy, a bit later on, was also very enthusiastic for the simple reason that they could see that their story might be able to inspire other boys and girls who'd had dreadful things done to them. I think the thing is that there's a real mix of being in total awe of what this woman Vivian and her younger parts have been through, what an extraordinary journey it's been, but also their amazing courage to work so diligently and to work for so long. I was left with a huge amount of respect, real respect, for the kind of strength of human nature, this determination to win through and not give up. I mean, she's taught me more than probably anybody else I've ever met in life.